Chasse-Spleen, so is in Moulis appellation. That you have to know for French people, Chasse-Spleen is probably the most beautiful name in the wine region, because for us French it means chasing away the bad mood or getting rid of bad mood. And I know that spleen could be not very romantic, but for French, spleen means really melancholia. So it helped us a lot on the French market, on the francophonic market. And it's in Moulis. Moulis is one of the 6 communal appellations in the Médoc. It's the smallest communal appellation, only 600 hectares. And Chasse-Spleen is probably one of the most known estate of this appellation. We are set on the hill of a very good gravel, of a very deep soil of gravel, and also to the west we have a beautiful soil of clay, of l'argile. Aidez-moi, Céline, c'est clay. Hein? Mm-hmm. Clay, and on a very not that deep subsoil of the chalk. So we are lucky enough for having those 2 types of soil, for having the best Merlot and the best Cabernet in Moulis, and Chasse-Spleen so also.
What is the breakdown of the encépagement at Château Chasse-Spleen? Is it pretty heavy Merlot, or is it pretty evenly split?
We have a larger part of Cabernet Sauvignon, because we have a larger part of gravel.
Okay.
Anyway, with the climate changing, we tend to plant more Cabernet Sauvignon, which supports much better the climate changement. It supports the heat much better than the Merlot.
Right. So here, if you take a look at the map, you can see that there's the Margaux appellation kind of at the southern entrance of the Médoc. And then just a little bit west, you have Moulis in this kind of almost like a strip. Then you have Listrac, and then you jump back over to closer to the banks of the river for Saint-Julien, Pauillac, and Saint-Estèphe. Can you tell us, because I think a lot of people are less familiar with the Moulis appellation, can you tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, we see that it sits kind of further away from the river. You know, how does that impact the soil, the style of the wine? What would you say is kind of a representative style of Moulis, and then of Chasse-Spleen as well?
It's still because we are a bit further from the river. We are less, comment dire, less précoce. On est moins précoce que Margaux.
You're less early.
Yes.
In terms of the ripening.
Because the river doesn't make this microclimate on our a bit less. A bit, naturally, a bit, sure, because we are not that far from the river, but less than the most famous appellation like Margaux, Saint-Julien, Pauillac, and Saint-Estèphe. But also sometimes it could be very nice to be a bit further from the river, because sometimes we need more time for getting ripe. You know, for sure. But on the east side of the appellation, we have the quaternary gravel, and the name a bit technical is Gunz, and it's the same gravel than in the other, like in Saint-Julien or Pauillac. So we are mixed a bit of the what makes the Médoc itself in concentrate in Moulis.
Okay, because Chasse-Spleen within the Moulis strip is located further east. Okay.
We are west of the appellation, that's why we have gravel.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about, just quickly, because it's probably quite long, the brief history of Chasse-Spleen and how it came to be?
Yes. It's yeah. I try to get shorter, but it's very interesting because during until the beginning, the early 18th century, it was forbidden to plant vines between Bordeaux and the sea. The reason was because the wholesaler from Bordeaux wanted to have the full control of the business and the flow between the Bordeaux wholesaler stock and the market abroad. And so that's why if you made wine in Medoc, you're supposed to escape to their control. That's why it was a long time very forbidden. But that joined my story is when it's became legal to have vines between Bordeaux. A lot of entrepreneurs came to the Medoc for making good wine. And Monsieur Gressier was one of the first. And Monsieur Gressier was the former owner of Chasse-Spleen. And very early 18th century, we have on one of the door of the chateau, the date is 1700. Very, very early, yeah. Yeah, the United States wasn't born already.
We're babies. And when did you and Céline arrive at the property?
First, Moulis knew only a few owners. One big figure of Chasse-Spleen was Mrs. Ferrière, who owned the chateau in the 18th century. She was a strong woman, a lot of characters. And then they sold. There is no. She had no inheritance. So it became a public vineyards, sold in auction to a German owner. But unfortunately for him, it was just before the First War. So, oh, you see my dog, Largo. If you want, I can call him. It's very
I mean, I honestly was debating whether this was a statue or not. So now I'm glad you clarified.
And the estate was sold to a German, Mr. Segnitz, and unfortunately just before the First War, so the estate came back again in a public property, and one guy, Monsieur, j'ai oublié le nom, Monsieur Alahari, bought the estate and kept it almost till the mid-70s, and then the grandfather of Céline, my wife, bought Chasse-Spleen at that time, and between 75 and now, is her mother took care of the estate, then her sister, and now her and me take care of Chasse-Spleen now for 20 years.
Okay, lovely. And
I drink a lot too.
Well, perfect. You have to. Now, I want to speak briefly about, and it's a little hard to see here in the picture. So you have two wines, Château Chasse-Spleen, and then the second wine, L'Héritage. But what's unique about the first wine, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but every vintage you choose a quote, and if you could elaborate on this, but at the top of the bottle on every vintage of Chasse-Spleen, they'll have a different quote. How did that come about? And
we had a famous we copy a famous colleagues like Mouton Rothschild, but they do that with a famous painter, and we have a bit less money, so we a quote of an author we like. First of all, we took a quote for a major figure of the French literacy, and from 2006 we decided to ask to a live author that we appreciate, and the bet is very funny. We asked to that author that we like to give us a quote, and we give him one case of each new vintage per year until he died. So it's nice.
That's a great deal. I can give you a quote if you'd like.
First, become a famous author, and we talk again. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But what I want to say to our public today is we were very proud that Jay McInerney, a famous New Yorker author, give us the quote for the vintage 13.
Okay.
Mm.
Do you remember what it is?
Yes, it means en français, c'était si tu veux. Oh, I can find you.
That's fine. That's fine. Is it translated in English for the English market or is it in French?
On the main label, we script in the language of the author, and if it's in English, it's in English. But we translate on the back label, and when it's French, we translate in English on the back label.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's jump to some other things that happen at Château Chasse-Spleen. If anyone's had the chance to visit, you'll know, but if you haven't, it's a must visit in Bordeaux because there's a very big art component to the visit. Can you tell us a little bit about what goes on at the property? As you can see here, it's a little bit cut off, but you have massive boots that stand outside of the property. You have an art center. Tell us a little bit about that and how that was developed and what goes on there.
Yeah, sure. We wanted to find a way for attracting people when they took that Route des Châteaux and give us the envy to stop in Chasse-Spleen. And we tried to join a real passion we have and the attraction that we have to build. And we thought about the contemporary art because we are already collectionnaire. We have a collection and it's hard. It's important for us. The art is a companion of life for us, and why not to show our collection or to invite an artist to our art center. And now it's for 5 years, and we are very happy of the schedule we propose. Our first major piece we bought is those two boots. We like these pieces of art. It's exactly the same boot that the people we work with us wear every day. So it's kind of an hommage, comment on dit,
An homage.
an homage to them. And also when you arrive, you know, it's very Château du Médoc with the lawns. It can take you a short smile, you know, for breaking a bit the image of the very compassion, le château, a bit too much heavy sometimes.
Yeah, so you can see from this angle, they look kind of small from here, but with the chateau in the back, you can tell that they're quite quite large.
High, yes.
What did you say?
The boots are 3 meters high.
3 meters high. Okay. And then there's another, I mean, there's what's awesome about Chasse-Spleen is that there's really art kind of everywhere you look. I mean, even in the cellars, this was one of my favorites of the visit. You walk in and you see all these kind of shapes of red on the ceiling and you're wondering what it is. And then if you stand in one specific spot in the cellar, it all comes together to look like this, which...
Very good director, you know?
I'm working my way to getting that quote.
The artist is Varini, Philippe Varini. It's a Swiss artist, and he paints like on a canvas, but on a structure. You know, it's a minimalist. C'est de l'abstraction géométrique, geometric abstraction, and also, you know, when people goes in the shade. They smile, they look the point of view, you know, it's kind of a dynamic visit.
Definitely. It's definitely unlike a lot of other visits you'll have in the Médoc for sure. So make sure you guys, if you ever get to Bordeaux, definitely go check out Chasse-Spleen.
And for the next summer, we will show a French artist named François Morlet, but it has been shown on the PS1 in Brooklyn already.
Okay.
So it's a very good one.
Nice. Let's jump over to Château Camensac. So Chasse-Spleen, we were down in Moulis, kind of closer to the Margaux appellation. Now we're going up a little bit further north, just outside of, let me just pull up the map so this all makes sense. As we go up north here, just outside of the Saint-Julien appellation is considered Haut Médoc appellation, and that's where Château Camensac is located. It's a Grand Cru classé from 1855. So tell us a little bit about the background of Camensac and maybe a little bit of the history behind it.
Exactly. Camensac is one of the fifth cru classé in Haut-Médoc, with Camensac, La Lagune, La Tour Carnet. And it's really on the border of Saint-Julien. And it's very interesting to know that because we share a part of the very precious gravel of Saint-Julien, also from the Goons. And our historic plots is shared between this gravel of Saint-Julien on the west side, because the napping of the gravel get tired and stop there, and didn't get enough energy for covering the more ancient napping of gravel, which is even older. You see the Goons is the red, the rose task, and the older gravel is the blue one. And the name is Villafranchienne. It's from the tertiary, and it's the same gravel as in Pessac-Léognan. So, which is very interesting, and what we try to achieve, it's to have this chewy side of Saint-Julien with the delicate and the floral side of Pessac-Léognan. And I think we are closer and closer. And I'm very proud of the fresh roses aroma we have as a recurrent aroma in year after year in Camensac, and sometimes the faded roses, even more delicate, with this tannin, quite chewy, quite melted. Yes, we own the estate now for almost 17 years, and we farm a lot of things. We plant off 30 hectares for a better adequation between the soil and the rootstock. We change all the tools. We have wood vats, new concrete vats. We change almost everything. And because when we bought the estate, even Camensac wasn't that famous abroad, for sure we bought a soil of the classified growth. And so we knew that. So we bet on it.
Of course. And tell us a little bit about the history. There it is. What vintage?
909.
Very nice.
I'm the owner, I take any bottle I want.
It must be nice. So
I'm not the owner. I'm the husband of the owner.
That's true.
And
That's true.
Father of the owner,
Yeah, you have a boss to report to. So tell us a little bit before you came on board, historically, what was going on at the property. I mean, it was classified in 1855, so it's existed for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, another time, Camensac also is connected with a German owner. I like the Médoc for history because it was always melted. We have Irish people, German people, and it was a new era for constructing a new way of making good wine in 18th century and 19th century. And when the vineyard has been classified, the owner was a German, Mr. Popp, from Bremen, north of Germany. And then it became the property of a noble family, and they didn't make good, really. You know these noble people that you don't have in America, and and then during a long time it was the owning of the famille Cuvelier, who owned also Léoville-Poiferré. And in 1964, it has been sold to a Spanish family, all more cosmopolitic. And the owner was the family Forner, which is who is much better known for being the owner of Marquès de Cáceres. And in fact, the boss of Marquès de Cáceres was a friend of Jacques Merlot, the grandfather.
Okay.
And Jacques told to Enrique, come to the Médoc, buy an estate. I'm sure it will be booming and it will be boom. And he was right. And so in 2005, we bought the estate to this founder family.
Okay, 2005, so relatively recent in the history of the estate.
Very
So
time.
I'm just pulling up the labels here. So you make on the left is the old label. When did you change the label?
05.
05. Okay. So if anyone has vintages older than 05, it won't look like the middle one. The middle one is the new label, Château Camensac. It definitely stands out. It's got like a blue hue to it. And then on the right, the second one, Closerie de Camensac. Go ahead.
We wanted to be to make a soft changement of the label, but at the end, it's completely new. And we decided to take the risk of having a blue pale label, which is quite unusual on the red wine marketing. But I think it's and finally, when you watch the very old label in the beginning of 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, sorry, the colors of the label generally was completely pop, absolutely psychedelic. And so, in fact, we went back to a tradition without knowing it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Going back to the old, in a way.
In a way.
And tell us briefly, in terms of how you decide Château Camensac versus the second wine, or, I assume you call it a second wine. How do you decide what goes in what? Is it different plots? Is it a different vinification? Is it different blend? There's plots dedicated every year, or is it a mix of everything?
The concept of the second wine, which came in the 70s, it was for improving the promise of the Grand Vin, for having a stable level of the Grand Vin year after year by playing between the level of the Second Vin and the Grand Vin. And we used to do that, for example, in Chasse-Spleen. But in Camensac, it's a bit different because when we plant off 30% of the whole surface, we have a lot of new vines. And so it goes in the Grand Vin, in the second level. But also when we arrived, we found also that the level of Camensac should be improved. And we have to prove to the market that the new ownership, us, made what they need for improving the wine and to seduce again in a new way of selling the wine, that the wine become better. So it goes also in the second vin. And at the end, we have a second wine, a very high level, in fact.
Okay.
The proportion between second and first wine is 50-50. It's quite a lot of selection.
Okay, yeah, it is. We are running kind of low on time, but before we go, is there anything at either Chasse-Spleen or Camensac that, big projects coming up? Is there, any new projects in the vineyards, testing out, is there anything that's kind of on the horizon?
Yeah. I would like to say that we are not living on an island. We share the concern of the world population about the future, the ecological transition, and we didn't wait the organic fashion for being clean, And by example, in Camensac, in Chasse-Spleen, between the 05 and 15, we reduce all the stuff entering in the process of 65%. you know, and we still improve that ratio. And also we are, Chasse-Spleen and Camensac, both of them are completely clean. We don't reject any rubbish in the nature. We clean all the water we use, you know. We don't use also that we call the CMD, I don't know, cancerigène, mutagène, reprotoxic, very bad stuff. We don't use them. And even more, we are taking the direction of the agroecology and the agroforestry. I don't know the right word for meaning that in English. I don't know. It means let the vine itself being stronger for defend itself with some auxiliary.
Naturally.
Vegetal auxiliary, like the legumineuses, les mycorrhizas. We go in that way.
Mm-hmm.
We have 8 hectares in experience with biodynamic in Camensac.
Okay.
So we are not organic, but we are clean. And we love our children, and we want also a clean earth to them, you know. We love money for sure, but we love also our...
Hey, it's honest. Wonderful. Well, Jean-Pierre, thank you very much for taking the time today. If there's any questions, guys, feel free to put them in the chat. But otherwise, we'll wrap up here. Jean-Pierre, thank you for taking the time to connect with us while we're all kind of hunkered down again here. Actually, there is a question, Jean-Pierre, about the 2021 vintage.
It was the year of all the danger. It was a stressful year with 30 degrees in March and frost in April and a bit rain on the flowering and a dark summer and suddenly a too hot summer. And finally, we have a very nice Cabernet, wonderful Cabernet, but in a low proportion. The crop reduced of 50% almost. The Merlot is good, but in a few quantity because of the coulure. But it will be a good Cabernet Sauvignon year, very good one.
Okay, and that was kind of the same in Camensac and Chasse-Spleen?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We are far, 10-kilometer drive, 10-minute drive. Where we are.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, they're quite close then. Okay, thank you, Jean-Pierre.
Merci.
Merci. And thank you.
Thanks to Céline, Monsieur Touton. Bye-bye.
Bye.